In the small town of Willow Springs, where the night sky glimmered with stars and children's laughter filled the air during the day, I, Sam, had never thought I would wage a war against the tiniest of creatures. It was not a battle of strength, but rather one of patience and cunning, and it all began on a sleepless night. Picture this: it was 2 in the morning, and I lay in my bed, tossing and turning, desperately trying to find that perfect position that might coax me into slumber. But that dreaded sound echoed through my room like an unyielding symphony of irritation. Kre, kre, kre. The cricket chirped as if it had taken a personal vendetta against my sleep. I considered it a part of nature, the lovely sounds of life that filled the night. However, I had reached my limits. I could not focus anymore. The chirping broke my concentration, and every rhythmic pulse of my heartbeat seemed to synchronize with that insufferable creature. It was relentless. It was as if I was in a horror movie, and sleep was the unfortunate victim being hunted down one chirp at a time. It was frustrating that this seemingly insignificant insect could hold such power over my restful nights. It stayed hidden deep within a crack in my wall, and every time I would try to pin it down, it became ghostly quiet, only to resume its screeching at the most inconvenient moments. I felt almost dizzy with fatigue. Why was such a small creature causing me such havoc? I was determined to find a solution, a plan to reclaim my tranquility. After several sleepless nights and desperate attempts to drive my enemy out, I discovered something peculiar. The cricket would go silent when a loud noise startled it. It was at that moment I realized I had leverage. I could outsmart this little creature. In this battle of wits, I decided to implement my plan. I scavenged through my belongings and stumbled upon a spare phone that had barely been touched in months. I smiled, the wheels in my mind starting to turn. The strategy was simple yet elegant. I would deploy the phone near the crack, where the cricket had set up its discordant residence. I opened a sound application where a variety of noises were available. And there it was, my victory chant, the sound of a metal pipe falling, an unexpected crash that could send the cricket into a frenzy of fright while ensuring I would not have to endure the full volume myself. I set up the phone just right, ensuring the speaker faced the crack, and pressed play. The sound erupted in the air, metal clanging against the floor, sometimes echoing, almost theatrical in its delivery. When I crawled into bed that night, a newfound sense of hope filled my heart. As I lay there, the first hour passed blissfully without the chirping sound interrupting my thoughts. My plan was working, and for the first time in what felt like an eternity, I curled into my sheets knowing I would finally have a chance at restful sleep. The cricket was silenced. It was hiding away, uncertain and confused. For days, I repeated the devouring sound, and it was like a symphony of victory resonating through the walls. The freedom from sleep deprivation reawakened the Sam I had lost. I could focus on my work, laugh with friends, and enjoy long drives. The way the wind felt comforting against my face, each moment felt richer and more vibrant. The first week passed without incident. The cricket remained hidden, and I basked in the calm of my newfound peace. However, as time went on, it became evident that my small triumph might have been too good to last. I noticed an unpleasant change in my surroundings. The eerie silence began to weigh heavily on the air. One afternoon, while I sat sipping coffee and listening to my favorite podcast, I caught the familiar sound that haunted my nights. Kre, kre, kre. My heart sank as frustration boiled within me. It was back, emboldened, as if it had geared up for round 2 in this war. It chirped as if mocking my earlier tactics, taunting me for the confidence I had built. I darted from my seat, waging a new assault on the cricket's hiding place. This time I turned it into a sport, and I was determined to outlast my quarry. I armed myself with the best sound effects technology I could muster. I began escalating my tactics, trying various sounds from mere thuds to louder crashes, but each time it felt like my efforts only increased the cricket's tenacity. It was infuriating. I set up multiple devices, creating a symphony of noise just to scare it out, but nothing seemed to work. With each new day, I realized that I was scrambling for control in a fight that felt less and less winnable. The cricket was no longer just a nuisance, it had become my nemesis. My evenings were full of despair, the chirping sound blending with my defeated thoughts. I was exhausted, both mentally and physically. My mind spiraled deeper into a dark abyss as sleepless nights stretched on without mercy. I wondered if I would ever win this battle. I could feel the weight of anxiety creeping up as the chirping began to steal my joy. My patience wore thin, and I questioned my cleverness, my resolve. The thrill I felt in outsmarting that cricket faded, each failure prickling my spirit with doubt. Would I forever remain a prisoner of this tiny creature? I contemplated giving up entirely or moving away, wondering if my situation would ever improve. But pulling the blanket over my head was not an option. I had to rally my forces. So I regrouped and turned my focus to a new strategy, one that involved going on the offensive. If I was going to eliminate this cricket, I needed to outsmart it completely. Deep down, I craved a poetic retribution. I sought the ultimate revenge that collected every lost night, every defeated moment I felt in the thick shroud of weariness. This omnipresent fear that had engulfed me needed an end. I crafted a plan that was not only clever but equally humorous in its context. I began secretly inviting friends over under the pretense of a sleepover, a gathering to binge-watch movies and share stories. Unbeknownst to them, my actual motive for this event was layered beneath the surface. I needed witnesses to my predicament. Friends filled my home, all sitting together in my living room while I winked at some of them, conjuring that feeling of camaraderie. I decided to do a dramatic reading of my ongoing battle with the cricket, capturing their attention as I animatedly relayed my story. They laughed, cringed, and offered their advice. All the while, I felt their energy fueling my resolve. Inspired by their laughter, I convinced them to join me in a cricket hunting expedition. Suddenly, it became an event. Coming together to hunt this menacing creature added excitement and amusement, turning my personal struggle into a communal adventure. Setting up a cricket stalking team made me feel emboldened. Armed with phones blaring loud noises, we crammed into my small space while roaring with laughter, fueled by each of them creating their own cricket hunting strategies. We laughed every time we heard the chirp as though we were engaged in war strategy. The noise was infectious. Suddenly, the cricket was not just an enemy I was fighting alone. Everyone contributed ideas to further unearth the cricket. Plans to trap it emerged, and suggestions to play sounds that would alert it while we tried to catch sight of it brought us all closer. As we set up cameras around the house, deploying loud noises and exciting tactics, I felt the burden diminish. The atmosphere transformed, now full of hope and laughter, only making me want to play the part even more. I had newfound courage, and through every silly attempt to locate the cricket, it felt less like a personal obstacle and more like the battle of a team. I embodied a sense of lightness as my friends ignited the spirit of teamwork into this challenge. However, just as our tactics danced around the cricket, I had to acknowledge my witty desire for poetic revenge. It reminded me of the very spirit of resolution I sought, to reclaim my peace in a manner worthy of scrutiny. But just as we thought we could corner this creature, one persistent night, we prepared for our next big confrontation with anticipation. I had a plan to ensnare it once and for all. As twilight darkened the sky, I sat together with my friends, drawing on themes and discussions while we devised our final strategy. We would deploy a final wave of noise while meticulously observing the cracks, jumping at the slightest hint of movement. It felt like a perfect storm gathering, the moment of reckoning urged by laughter and hope. With bait in the form of strategic noise infiltrating my walls, we fell silent, all ears attuned as we watched the chaos unfold like some tragic opera filled with valor and mischief. Suddenly, as I strained to listen to every whisper, I heard it. The softest kree, kree, kree slipped through the wall, flaring my confidence once more. The moment before the crescendo was unbearable. The kind of tension that held breaths captive was mounting. I turned every device to maximum sound as my friends flooded the room with noise, crashing the instruments of revenge against the wall to trigger the cricket. In those precious seconds, I felt the world dissolve, anticipation crackling in the air like static electricity, the camaraderie reaching a peak. The moment of destiny had come upon our quest against the cricket. As devices clashed, a decisive screech echoed, and there he was, the cricket, finally revealed in the world of light among us. My friends cheered, a victory cry echoing through the room, turning tail in a tenacious dance of determination as we united in raucous celebration against the very thing that had driven us to this point. The cricket seemed to dim, now exposed for all to see, like a clandestine conductor pulling the strings of my sleepless symphony. It swiftly leapt toward a discarded piece of paper, but in that split moment, my heart soared with delight, and I was reminded of a newfound life I had almost lost beneath the turmoil of sleepless nights. As the cricket made a final, frantic leap, I felt the touch of victory envelop me as I reached for an empty cup and posited it above it like a chamber of triumph. There, triumphantly ensnared, the cricket chirps faded into a distant echo, forever trapped by the collective power of our laughter and strategy. Across the room, we erupted with joy, high-fiving and hugging, the camaraderie igniting a fire of victory in our hearts. The joy fused with an ethereal sense of relief washed over me. I had emerged not only unscathed but quietly triumphant against my nemesis. I grasped the cup as the cricket lay within, a testament to my journey rooted in endless nights and relentless pursuit, surrounded by the laughter of friends who had rallied around me to reclaim my freedom. I never thought my battle would culminate in such a spectacular moment, nor did I expect to gain some new friends in the process. In the aftermath, I released the cricket into an open field, far away from my abode, as my friends cheered me on. There I reveled in the sounds of a new day dawning, one where I no longer fought alone. I found peace in the balance I longed for. As the cricket settled into the long grass, I too let go of the burden lifted from my shoulders. I looked back, feeling grateful for the journey that had drawn me closer to my friends and the lessons learned through my little quest. Life is what we make of it, even when it involves battling an antagonist so small. While I may have lost sleep along my journey, I also won a deeper connection and laughter. wrapping my life with a newfound perspective on hidden struggles. Sometimes, the smallest battles yield the most significant rewards. Every challenge becomes an opportunity hidden in the most unexpected corners, reminding us of the powerful impact of friendship, laughter, and resilience. So, my friends, what will you do if you find yourself ensnared in your own sleepless nights? Join forces, embrace the challenges, and venture forth. The tiniest foes may be imperceptibly powerful, but they are not invincible when faced with unity and creativity. I encourage you to share your stories. What was your favorite part of this journey? Want to explore more tales like these? Hit that subscribe button and let's continue this adventure together, finding laughter in unexpected places. Share a story of your own struggle, or maybe how a tiny creature brought you endless joy. Your story matters, and who knows, it might just lead to the next adventure. Subscribe and hit that bell icon so you never miss a story like this.